Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to Raw Knuckles Podcast. Please like, follow, and subscribe.
Certainly starting with the Montreal Canadiens was advantageous in the sense that I wasn't ready to play in the NHL at 20 years old, but that was a great organization to get a foundation under you that was beneficial for the future.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah,
on
well,
that.
what's your secret though? Because I'm 5'8", and you played 900 more games than I did.
When I stepped on the ice, I never backed down, and I never stayed down.
And I was vicious, and I was malicious, and I don't care.
I'm alive. He's a freaking madman. Look at him going to town.
Good to have you, Keith.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
It's my first ever podcast.
Oh wow!
Well, hopefully it won't be your last because we hope we don't traumatize you too much.
Well, I'm a little nervous, but
you got nothing to be nervous about. It's me.
Oh yeah.
I'm on your team.
We've only canceled like 3 people, so don't worry.
Whenever I'm with you, Chris, I'm very confident, and I'm a lot bigger.
Me too.
Yeah. My first year in Halifax, I was 5'8" and like 160 pounds. My second year when you came, I grew to like 6 feet and 190. And then after 50 games, you left and I shrunk back to 5'8", 160.
Well, not quite, but listen, it's always good to have someone riding shotgun for you, but you certainly played the game with intensity, grit. For a smaller player, you didn't play small, you played big. So don't sell yourself short there. Listen, awesome to have you. And I guess, looking back on your career and all you've done in hockey, and now you've stepped away from hockey. You're in a whole different line of work. What's going on with Keith Acton today? That's what I want to know.
I had a good run in hockey for sure. It was my life. It was my passion, my love, and I was very privileged and fortunate to have had the career that I had. Certainly a lot of people to thank, a lot of great teammates, coaches that, were instrumental in helping me to have that career. Now that I'm 65 years old, I'm on to something different. I miss hockey a lot because, it was my life. But now I'm the owner of the Boston Pizza in Stouffville, and I'm also a counselor on our municipal team here in Stouffville. So those two things keep me very busy.
So you're back in the town you grew up in. You went back home after traveling for so many years. Stouffville. When I look back in that draft, the 1978 draft, we were both drafted the same year. We're the same age.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit older than you. I'm February, you're April. And just an awesome career. But starting out in hockey, you're a small guy. What drew you to the game? One, you're a big fan of growing up, or what drew you to the game? And being that little guy, how difficult is that when you're starting out in the game? Do you got to deal with shit right away?
Yes and no. I mean, certainly, I think it was my passion for the game at a very young age. My mother was a speed skater. She got me skating when I was very, very young, and it took off from there. Certainly, for whatever reason, hockey was my love, and I was so passionate about it. It's all I wanted to do. And I was pretty much one-dimensional, and I needed to be, if that was going to be my goal to make it in hockey. I needed to spend all my time and all my energy and all my focus on, developing and playing the game of hockey if I was going to advance. So it was certainly a love and a strong desire, and there was lots of kids and growing up and in junior and even beyond that were probably had more ability and more talent than I had. But I seemed pretty determined that this is what I wanted to do. And like I said before, I was very fortunate to have had the teammates that I had throughout all my years in hockey. And certainly starting with the Montreal Canadiens was advantageous in the sense that I wasn't ready to play in the NHL at 20 years old, but that was a great organization to get a foundation under you that was beneficial for the future.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah,
on
well,
that.
what's your secret though? Because I'm 5'8", and you played 900 more games than I did.
Right?
Well, you had a good career too, Tim. You played a lot of hockey and played, if I'm not mistaken, you had lots of years that you played in Europe, did you not?
Correct.
Yeah, and that was some of us couldn't have maybe played in Europe because you had to have a real high skill level. It was a bit of a different game, but certainly you took your skill set and put it to work, and you were very, very successful.
So why would you say you weren't ready though when you first came in? Just
when I came out of junior, I wasn't ready to play in the NHL, and certainly to go to the American Hockey League and play with guys like Chris, and we all developed together. Chris developed very fast. Like I think you, if I'm not mistaken, you only played like a half a year in the American League.
49 games.
Yeah, coming out of college, and certainly, you were the kind of guy that worked extremely hard on your game. You weren't one-dimensional. Certainly, you were tough, and you brought that element to your game, and it was very beneficial to your teammates. But certainly, I know you were first on, last off, always working on your game to contribute in more ways, and you did. I think you had.
I appreciate that.
20 goal scoring seasons, I think.
Yeah, but this is not about me. This is about you and Tim. So forget about me. But just to go on Tim's thing, to elaborate on that a little more, Tim's question.
What's that? I wasn't ready?
Yeah, not being ready. Like what?
Well, I think that, I didn't have a lot of real strong attributes as a player, but the one that I did have was I could skate and I was fast. And in those years, that was the game was more back and forth, up and down the rink. There was more flow to the game maybe than there is today. There was more risk in the game, so the game would open up, and the speed was advantageous if you had it. And in those days, not everybody in the league could skate. There was one or two defensemen that were good skaters on most teams, and then after that, there was guys that labored. So, but in today's game, everybody can skate, and they're all fast. And
what would you call those guys that labored, Keith? Slugs? Huh? Would you call them slugs?
Pylons?
Listen, it's funny because when I think back, and Keith and I, Tim, the first year, you didn't come down right away. I got sent down right away. Didn't you come down later?
No, I came.
You came right away the first year. Yeah. All right. I remember training camp, Tim, and I wonder if you remember this, Keith. So we go to Montreal training camp. We get sent down. We're going to Nova Scotia, and we had a coach named Bert Templeton. And Bert was a coach. He always had tough teams. He wanted his guys to fight and be tough. And I had no idea what pro hockey's all about, right? So naive, right? I watched the Bruins growing up. That's it. I don't know the inner workings, what goes on, all that. So I get there, and Tim Burke, who was a college kid, Timmy Burke, and a very good friend to this day, he didn't he knew what was going on. I didn't. He grabbed me. He said, "Hey, listen, couple things here, got to pay attention to, blah, blah." He took me under his wing, and he was trying to enlighten me a little bit on what's going on. He said, "This coach here, he coached junior, and he likes tough players, but he hates college kids. So get at the end of the line, listen to him, get the drill, but don't go first, whatever you do, because he just doesn't like college kids. And they had this kid, Richie Costello, college kid out of Merrimack. And we start doing drills, and Richie's the first in line. He wants to get an A in skating drills. And he gets there, and he goes, and he screws the drill up. And all of a sudden, the whistle goes. And I'm standing next to Timmy. And he blows that whistle, Templeton. He goes, Costello, what the fuck are you doing? You fucking idiot. He said, you fucking college kids are supposed to be smart, aren't you? Get me into the fucking line and watch. Well, Richie was like, he just melted into his skates. Like, he was like, he's still traumatized today, I think, poor Rich. But Timmy just looked at me and said, see? Just listen and watch, get the drill down, and then go. Thank God Tim Burke was there for me. I'm telling you, I would have been first in line. Here I go. But that first year we get sent down there. I remember the previous season, Maine Mariners. They shit kicked the Voyagers, and they wanted to get a tougher team. And I didn't know I was part of this. That fighting. I loved to fight when I was a kid. I did all that crap, but I never fought in the ice really one time, and I admired the Bruins. But so, you have your junior career in Peterborough. You come camp, like I said, and you get down to Halifax. Was it an eye-opener for you, pro hockey? Were you naive to something like I was? I was just like, oh, yeah, I didn't have a clue.
Yeah, I was as well. Certainly, in those days, it was I wasn't a tough player, and it was. I'm going to tell you a story about Bert after, with regards to that. In 78, 79, it was around the time that the WHA was folding.
Yeah,
and part of their sell was a lot of fighting, and a lot of these players that were playing in the WHA were now, because they were folding, were coming to the American League. So when you and I started down there, that league wasn't too far off of the movie Slapshot.
Yeah.
It really wasn't with regards to the fighting and brawling. And I had to pick up on it quick that when the bench is cleared, I found guys like Bobby Sheehan and guys like that, not to be disrespectful to them, but and then I remember Bert, because he was very instrumental in my development down there in my second year. And he coached against us in junior here in Ontario.
So you knew him.
Yeah, and he always had a tough team. He did. He had the toughest team, and that's what he wanted. And I remember one night in Glens Falls, I got in a bit of a fight with a guy, and I got beat up. And so the next day we're going to get on the bus, and Bert takes me aside and he says, I got to talk to you. He takes me over and he takes his middle finger and he's hitting me in the middle of the chest. He says, I'm going to tell you something right now. You never fight. You never, ever fight ever again. And I'm looking at him because I'm thinking, I maybe didn't win, but I thought you'd like me because I fought, because I know that's what you want. He said, no. He says, we got a reputation as a tough team and you're fucking it up.
Thanks, Coach.
So I was off the hook from fighting after that.
Oh, that's great. That's a great story. Do you remember getting called up for your first game and what that was like?
Yeah, I do. It was, again, it was like for all of us, it was a dream to play in the National Hockey League. And I can remember it was Bert that gave me a call. It was after Sunday night we played in Halifax, and I just got home and he called the house and told me that you are going to Montreal in the morning. And I was like, wow, I'm going to play a game in the NHL. It was just going to start with one game. But I'm going to play one game, and, we were all like that, I suppose. And things were kind of not going well in Montreal at the time.
Transition.
Yeah, and things were a little bit volatile, and they were used to winning and they weren't winning like they used to, and trying to adjust to this, and emotions were running high. And then I think it was Boom Boom Jeffrion was a coach, but he only lasted about another 4 or 5 days after I got called up. And that was really a volatile time for the Canadians. But my first game was in Long Island against the Islanders, and this was going to be the first year, I think, that they were going to go on to win 4 straight cups. And I can remember in the warm-up skating around out there and, looking at those guys like, Nystrom and Gillies and Potvin and Trotch and Rossi. And I'm skating around and I'm going, wow, I'm not playing with boys out here tonight. These are men. This is a men's game here. So, and I remember Jeffrion, he sent me out for my very first shift, a face-off in my own end to start. He wasn't setting me up for success, that's for sure. And it was against Brian Trottier. And after that face-off, the puck went so fast back to Potvin at the point, he had a hard time keeping it in, because that's how bad I lost the face-off. And I was naked. My stick was in the stands. My equipment was gone. So it was that was an early initiation, but certainly, felt very fortunate to play in my first game.
And now wait, I got to say something. This is crazy. What year was that? That
was 1979. It was
fast forward, to 2009 or 8. You're in the same arena on the bench for my first NHL game. That's for my first. It was Long Island. How crazy is that?
Yeah,
it's awesome.
We were both born
awesome.
there.
Yeah.
So your first game, Tim, was in the island too?
Yeah. And was a coach with Toronto.
Leafs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
unbelievable. Crazy, huh? I know.
Yeah, I remember that.
Right?
I didn't know that until you just talked about that. I was like, wow, that's crazy to think that. That's cool.
But you knew you had Keith as a coach when you were there. You knew that.
Yeah. He told me my shootout move. I had the shootout winner, first game. He told me what to do.
I wouldn't have been giving anybody advice on a shootout.
I didn't know who my teammates were then, Nux. I was just so happy to be there. So
yeah, right? So Woody was his nickname, Woody. Where did you get that nickname, Woody, anyway?
It's funny. It just started when I was down in Halifax. It was just, how nicknames get started. I was not shaving every day, so I didn't have a beard, but I always had and it looked like I was from the bush.
Yeah.
And I had this bush coat that the guy would wear if he's hunting or whatever, and I think it was Jerome Engel who started calling me the Woodsman, and then it just went from Woodsman to Woody, and it stuck. And for 45 years, no one's ever called me Keith. All I've been called for 45 years is Woody, and that's how it started. Yeah.
Woody, yeah, funny stuff. So that first year in Montreal, Jeffrion, he gets let go, then Claude Ruel took over for a little bit, then Bob Berry came in, and I ended up getting called up there 79, 80, and staying. You had a hell of a year down there. You really ripped it up, and the Habs were looking for that, and you come up the following year, and you got your start, certainly with the Habs, on a full-time basis, and not going back. How about the English kid from Ontario coming into Montreal? To me, when I came here first, like the adjustment, first of all, it's intimidating. It's the Montreal Canadiens, that expectation and everything that comes along with it. But then coming into, the French province, a French city, and trying to grasp all that, how difficult was that for you coming, like I said, from English Canada?
Yeah, I don't know. I was just really consumed in the hockey, and certainly growing up where I grew up, I was never a Canadiens fan. I was a Maple Leaf fan for sure. And but then as it unfolded, I see your jerseys hanging behind you, and I'm sure you, not unlike me, that sweater I was the most proud to wear. And starting in Montreal at that time, like my first training camp, Ken Dryden was still there, Jacques Lemaire was still there, Yvan Cornway was still there. I didn't play with those guys, but they were there in training camp, and it's funny, I'd be on the goal line gonna do down and backs, and Ken Dryden or Lemaire would say, "Come on, Keith, keep it going. Come on, keep it going." And I was surprised that they even knew my name. Like, there's 6 of us there. Like, how did they know my name? And they all kind of, they were comforting, and they helped you, and they tried to help you learn. And so fortunate to have been with all of those players that were 8 or 10 of them in the Hall of Fame, probably, and it was just such a great start to my career, starting in Montreal, because of all of those teammates that we had. And then you talk about the city. I mean, the city it's not for everybody, but I loved it there because everybody was a hockey fan. Everyone was passionate about it. Just that emotion every day would give you energy. And like I said, it's not for everybody, but
it would give you energy, but it would break some guys, right?
Yeah, it would. And some guys didn't like that. They would rather be somewhere where, it's not,
can hide out.
Yeah, it's not such a big deal,
Right.
So, but I loved it for sure.
Yeah, so you loved it for sure, and it wasn't long you're in town and you're playing on a line with Guy Lafleur. I mean, how crazy is that? Like, you went from, who the hell were you playing with in Nova Scotia? Fucking Joe Adams from Beaverton, Ontario.
The college kid that was getting yelled at. What's it, Richie or something?
Richie Costello.
Yeah.
No, actually in Halifax, I had my second year down there, I had 2 real good wingers, and they were older, experienced guys that were.
Who are they?
Well, left winger was Jerry Byers, who was from Kenville.
God bless him.
Yeah, Kenville
on now.
And my right winger was Bill Riley, who.
Yo, Riles, what's up? Yo, Riles, what's going on, Billy Riles? What's up, brother?
And they were really instrumental in my development, the 2 of them, because I was 21 and they were like 28, and they'd had a sprinkle of time in the NHL. They had experience, and their knowledge was very valuable for me at that time.
Right. I think for all of us.
Yeah, that's right. And then,
right.
Yeah. And then, like you said, 1 year, playing in Montreal there, I was centering Steve Shutt and Guy Lafleur, and I loved that. I don't think they liked it much, but
why? Because they went from Lemaire to you.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Wow, you're selling yourself short. You had speed.
No pun intended.
Yeah, no pun intended. You had the speed. You had the tenacity. You were able to dish the puck. I mean, come on. The numbers say it all. I mean, 53 assists in Nova Scotia, 45 goals. Then come on, your first year where they have 61 games, you got 39 points. You had 24 assists. And then 81, 82, you end up with 88 points. You have 52 assists, 36. I mean, come on. Yeah, you're dishing the puck to them, but that was a good line.
Yeah, you're making like 10 million
today.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Well, no, they were exceptional players, and they made me look a lot better than I really was. But the speed, I would just try to drive through, let them have the puck, and leave some area for them to create. And they were easy to play with, that's for sure.
It's funny you brought up Jerry Byers, who I absolutely loved, and Bill Riles, and I love Riles too. It's funny when I think back though. Jerry Byers' wife. Now Jerry's 28 We're 20. Well, I looked at him like he was old, right?
Yeah.
He's old.
Yeah.
You know, he's smoking butts in the locker room, out in the hall. And his wife was a pretty woman, young woman. And it's like all the guys on the team, they're all young kids. They're like all got a crush on her, right? Everybody had a crush on Jerry's wife. Oh, my God, she's beautiful, right? Huh? Remember that, Keith?
Yeah.
It was so funny. But they were like, you know, they were like mom and dad of the team. They were good to all the young guys and the kids. It was an awesome environment, really. We had some great teammates down there. Craig Levy, Cowboy.
Yeah.
Craig Levy, what a beauty he is. I got to get him one of these days on here. Such good memories.
You'll have fun with him, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Now, were you there? The brawl in Maine, right? We had with the Mariners. McCammon sent everybody out when I fought Morrison that time, and
you fought them all in that brawl,
one
after another. And your dad, your dad was up in the end of the rink fighting.
Yeah, he was, Tim. My dad got they grabbed my father. That's when I got kicked out. The cops grabbed my dad. I got taken off the ice at one point, and Glenn Cochran got taken off the ice, but he got back on. So I said, I can't let that happen. We're outnumbered. So I tried to get back on the ice. Richard Sevigny, the goaltender, came down with his stick, and he stuck it through the crack there and lifted the thing and opened the gate for me. I had like 5 guys, like security personnel. They all jumped on me. So Richard came down. My father come down out of the stands and cracked the cop, and it was nuts. It was nuts. So when Keith said slap shot, it was. And when we went to Maine, it was insane. Right? I can't imagine how some guys, how full of fear they must have been going in that building.
Oh, I remember before you came to our team the year before, we didn't have a lot of toughness. And if we got the lead in that building, McCammon would just send the bench, start a brawl, everybody, beat us all up, and then they'd go on to win the game. So, later times when we go into that building, our coach would come in to give us the pump-up speech before the game. He'd say, come on, let's go. Let's be ready. We've got to be ready at the start of the game. Let's get the lead. And carry it right through. The coach would leave the room. Guys would go, the lead? Forget that. We don't want the lead. Just keep it close, and we'll win it in the last minute. They did it every time to us. If we were up, he'd just send the bench, beat us all up, and then win the game. Yeah. So.
Jesus.
Like, Tim, you have no idea how crazy that was, that building, and how, like, it's weird. I didn't know any better, right, when I first came in. I mean, I'm a college kid. And it was probably good I didn't. I just knew, they were a tough team. They can't be that tough. Fuck, a big deal, right? That's what I'm thinking. I'll fight any one of these bastards. But
and you did.
Yeah, but I was like...
And then you'd leave. One of them would be knocked out laying on the ice, and you'd be on to the next guy.
Well, that happened, right? Here's what happened with Morrison, and here's what happened in that fight. Morrison wanted to go me, and I cracked him. I cut him open bad, remember? He was cut bad.
Yeah.
And I had him down on the ice, Tim. And I didn't hit him when I had him down. I just held him there. And McCammon sent all the Mariners out on the ice. So everybody's paired up. And I have the guy down. I said, don't worry, I'm not going to hit you. You're bleeding, blah, blah, blah. I was being nice. So Glenn Cochran apparently got away from whoever he was with. And the linesman separated me and Morrison and got me up off him. So all of a sudden, Cochran's coming after me and Morrison. Because I let Morrison up after I didn't hit him. And now the bastard wants to fucking get me because Cochran's with him. So I'm backing up and I'm keeping my skates. Another thing I learned, don't lift your feet. in a brawl. Because if you step on something, you go down, you're in trouble. So I just kept my feet on the ice, and I'm backing up. And then all of a sudden, the linesman comes over and grabs Cochran. Now, Morrison stops in his tracks, and it's just the two of us. I went right after him and fucking kicked the living shit out of that. Again. You know, and I gave him a break, and then he was going to tag team me with Cochran. I couldn't believe it, but son of a bitch. No honor.
Maybe, how do you know he wasn't just coming over to say thanks?
Yeah, can you cut me on this side?
Yeah.
You already got me over here.
Who was their coach? Was their coach a player? Did
Bob
he play?
McCammon.
And did he play? Was he
Keith
a tough
will
guy?
know more about him
Was he
than
a
me.
tough guy?
I don't know a whole lot about him, actually.
But he was an asshole
Yeah.
as a coach.
Yeah.
Seemed like it.
And I don't have a problem saying that because he was. He coached a little in the NHL, but that's what he did. He no respect for his players. Just throw guys out. Tell a guy to go fight. I hated guys like that. I would have fucking sucked at him on the bench. That would have been all she wrote.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that.
No, you're right. About coaches like that, it's no good. Like, you know what, if players should always, if they're going to fight, they fight on their terms, not on the fact that a coach tells them to go fight. That's no good. No.
Yeah, and that was, not all coaches did that, but there were quite a few that kind of played that game, which sucked. So Woody, that part of it for you, how difficult, coming in, you've been around the fighting and stuff, but, the brawls and stuff, like, who would you pair up with? Like you said earlier, I know you were joking, but you had to look for a guy that, you're not going to fight. You're not supposed to fight anyway.
You're looking for me.
You were looking for Tim? No, I'm not challenging your manhood here because I know you're a tough bastard on the ice.
In one of those brawls with Maine back in the late 70s in the American League, I ended up with Frank Bathe, and he was a gamer. He was a fairly tough guy.
Honest.
Yeah, and he threw me down.
Yeah.
And he put me face down on the ice, and he just goes, "Keith, don't try to get up. Don't try to get up. Just stay there." Now my face is in the ice, right? And it's cold. But I'm standing there, and these brawls lasted like 15 minutes, sometimes maybe longer. And when I got up and I come in the room, everybody's looking at me, who hit you? Because my face is just like red as red from being on the ice. But
I fought Frankie Babe. He just grazed me.
Yeah.
I got a shirt burn.
You should wait till you see him. You should see him.
Yeah, I went and hit my knuckles on the concrete wall to bruise them up a bit. So
scrape them on there. But it's funny. I look back at that team and my first foray into pro hockey, and I think Gaetan Rocha-Rochette, awesome guy, right? Poor Dan Metivier, who's no longer with us, right?
Yeah.
Sad. Jerry Byers no longer with us. I've bumped into a few guys over the years. Alan Luchu, he lives down around Boston now. Luch,
really?
Luch. Yeah, he married a girl down. I think he ended up playing in the Eastern League or something with Cape Cod, and he ended up meeting someone down. He had a good go down there. He's still down there. He loves it. Some good teammates for sure. Lionel.
Yeah.
Who ran the place in there for years. So, Montreal, it was awesome. I remember those years playing alongside you, and you're a great teammate. Good face-off, man. Put the points up. Man, because when I left Montreal, it almost broke me. And I said it. I don't have a problem saying it. I was fucking heartbroken, Keith. Like, I don't know how guys do it. Okay? For someone who put all his effort, his passion, his love for that organization. And I'm not saying I'm the only guy who ever did that. There are a lot of guys like that. But boy, on the other side of it, leaving there was, like I said, it was devastating to me. Now, 83, 84 comes around and you end up part of a trade. Were you shocked that trade to Minnesota, or did you kind of see it coming? I didn't know the whole story.
No, I didn't see it coming at all. And you know what? I was devastated too when I was traded from Montreal. When you become a player in the National Hockey League, you say that you accept the fact that you could be traded. But I don't think you ever accept it until you experience it, if you will.
Right.
And certainly I was blindsided by it. I love playing in Montreal. I never really even ever thought about that I would be traded. And then the phone rings and it was Serge Savard, who I have a lot of respect for. Serge was great to me as a teammate. Spent lots of time with me when I was a rookie and helping me out and explaining things to me. And he was the general manager and made that trade. And certainly very disappointed. And I think, when you get traded, I got traded a couple times again after that. And because of experience, you can accept it a little easier. And you have to always look at it that it wasn't somebody that didn't want me. It was somebody that did want me.
Yeah.
And you try to take the positive and look at it that way, and you move on and try to get excited about, the new team you're with and the new opportunities, if you will.
Yeah.
What was the biggest difference when you first got to Minnesota?
Well, it's funny.
Money?
It's
other than money.
Yeah.
It was as much. I think that when I was in Minnesota, we had a good team. We had a lot of good players, but there wasn't the same. And I'm not being critical of anybody, but there wasn't the same direction. There wasn't the same experience that understood the formula for winning, how it worked. With the Canadians, they were accustomed to winning, and anything short of winning a Stanley Cup was not really acceptable. That was the standard. When I got to Minnesota, we didn't have that same desire, understanding of the importance of it and how good we maybe really could be, or so the direction just wasn't there. And it's funny because when I left Minnesota and I got traded to Edmonton, all of a sudden I came into an environment that was just like the Canadians. It was, we're here to win, and anything, it's hard, and it takes commitment and dedication and desire beyond the boundaries of your opponents in order to get this done, and the sacrifice. And that's just who we are and what we need to do. And you had that kind of direction in Edmonton again. And it's funny because I think it was a carbon copy of how the Montreal Canadiens were. And I think it was because of Glenn Sather. He spent a year playing with the Montreal Canadiens, and he learned that, what the environment, what the climate was like, and how you had to dedicate yourself in order to win. You needed the talent, but at the same time, you had to have that level of sacrifice and commitment in order to get it done. And we didn't have that in Minnesota. And the only other difference I'll say when I went to Minnesota was, when I was with the Canadians, Molson's gave us free beer. We had beer. I'd come home to my apartment. 10 cases outside my door. I couldn't even get in my apartment weekly. But with the Montreal Canadiens, there was never any beer in the dressing room. It was never in the dressing room. When I went to Minnesota, there was beer in the dressing room after the game. These guys, as soon as they came in the room after the game, they could
open their skates.
They could open a can of beer with their gloves on. That's hard to do.
It's funny. and you're right, Keith, that Montreal, no alcohol in the room. The only time you could have it, Tim, is when you won the Stanley Cup. Then you could have it in the room. And it was something I noticed too when I went. I go to the Rangers first game. After game, everybody's drinking beer in the room. Hey, you want a beer? I'm there. I don't. I could never drink right after a game anyway. I had to, and I mean that. I couldn't. I had to settle down a bit. A beer I drank water, hydrated, and then I dehydrated myself. And good. But I couldn't drink it right away. And like the Rangers, when I got there, not for nothing, but they all got the beers going, and fine, I get that. And I started on the road with the Rangers. And I get back to Madison Square Garden. I come in the room, and they got a little room next to the locker room where everybody gets changed, take your clothes off, and get ready. Big table there. They got fucking shrimp cocktail, fucking this. I mean, what the fuck? Is this are we in a fucking band? We're going to go play a concert now? Where's the champagne? Fuck. Like, I couldn't believe it. I mean, no wonder why they don't fucking win anything. It's like a fucking circus in here. It was crazy. And that does take a while to get used to. When you come from one, and I found myself comparing a lot. Like, oh, it's not like it. God, I missed that. I miss that so much. And it's like this? What's going on? And I mean, you can't come in and say, hey, we're going to change everything because I'm here now. It's like you can help change some things, but you have to be subtle about it. You can't just come in and start. But you certainly understand and can see why other teams, struggle. That top-down way they run things is just not good.
Well, I was going to ask you, Keith, was that really hard for you to see Montreal win a cup after you're gone, or did you pass on, or you know what I mean, or is that hard?
Yeah, I mean, it was difficult in the sense that you wished you could have been a part of it, I suppose. But no, it's I had a lot of good friends and good teammates that were still playing in Montreal. Chris being one of them, and certainly if it couldn't be our team, be happy for those guys because I was friends with some of them, and like I said, happy for them.
Yeah, it's a tough when I look at that. I look back, I look at that. Bobby Smith came in, right?
Yeah,
and certainly, that you're going to Minnesota. That can't be easy either because he was the first overall pick our year, right?
He was first overall, yeah.
Our
draft year.
Yeah, our draft year. And you're 103, I'm 231, and it's like you end up getting traded for him, and that must have been a little difficult, with the fan base accepting you right away, and then the media, who the fuck is this guy? Like Bobby Smith, number 1 overall. But I often think of that, and there's so many guys have such great careers, like, and just never got a sniff at that thing, and believe me, I'm grateful every day that happened, but to be part of something like that, it's tough, right? You love to see everybody be able to experience that, and it's difficult. It's the most difficult. You've been in the playoffs, Stanley Cup playoffs. It's most difficult trophy to win in sports, you know that. It's like crazy. So, yeah, you go Mini, Edmonton, Flyers. What the hell was it like in Philadelphia? Did they think you were the second coming of Ken Lindsman or what? Because Ken Lindsman and Keith played similar. Keith wasn't as dirty, but he could be dirty. He was very intense, could skate better than the Rat, way better. And you're a good face-off man like him, huh? You had great numbers. That Philly experience, how was that?
Yeah, it was good.
And you were there 5 years, right? 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. When I first got there, we had a good team. We lost to you guys in the semifinals. I think that was the year that you guys – did you lose to Calgary, I think, that season?
Yeah, I was gone, right? I was gone, right?
But we had when I first got there, we went to the semifinals. We had a good team, and as you know, that Philly's a good hockey town. Philly's a great sports town. The difference in Philly is for a large population, not a big percentage of the population were hockey fans, but they had dedicated hockey fans that were proud of their team and filled the building every night, and it was a great environment to play in Philadelphia. It was more of a they appreciated hard work and sacrifice as much as they probably appreciated the skill part of it. Yeah. Their fan base, that's what they really appreciated. But Philly is a good sports town, and it's a good place to play hockey. That's for sure.
Yeah, they're Flyer fans. It's kind of like Chicago. They're not like hockey fans; they're just Hawks fans. Yeah. They're not gonna, which is almost worse because they're just yelling "shoot" at the game at all times. It's on my ongoing joke, but it makes sense for sure.
So those Flyers years, it's kind of winding down. I always talk to guys about this when it's time to step away, and it's really hard to come to grips with that, right? Because you don't want to admit, well, I'm losing that half step. I can still play. You end up going from there to the Caps, and then the Islanders. You were only the Caps for 6 games. The Islanders, full season, and that next year. You go and to get 1,000 games, I just was it in your head? Were you close to retirement? In your head, but I'm about 50 games shy of 1,000. You had to have that on your mind because that's a fucking accomplishment. 1,000 games, it's truly a great accomplishment. One of the ones I wish I could have achieved.
Well, you did pretty well. You were pretty close. But certainly, I'm proud of that for sure. But I was fortunate again and very grateful to have had the teammates that I had over the years. I was fortunate in the sense of 2 things helped me to get to 1,000 games that, are not always in your hands. One was I didn't have any serious injuries where I missed extended times, like reconstructive surgeries of something that you're out for an extended period. So I was fortunate that way. And then probably expansion helped me to stay in the NHL because there was, expansion along my later years that probably allowed me to extend my career and get to 1,000 games.
Wow, that's awesome. What was it like when you got to Hershey, though? Were you scratching your head saying, what the fuck am I doing? You played 12 games down there. You had 12 points. So you must have been like, fuck, I can still play, but I'm in Hershey.
Point a game.
I'll tell you about that. There was a lockout year or whatever it was, I don't know. And it was my first year as an assistant coach in Philly. And again, I was really fortunate that when my playing career ended, Bob Clark gave me an assistant coaching opportunity with the Flyers. And I'm forever grateful for that. I mean, as you know, I love hockey, and there's no better job in sports than being a player. But when you can't play anymore, if you can still be in the game and get yourself
around it,
assistant coach, you're still smelling the ice and you're part of a team and you have a role in trying to win. But during that time, the NHL didn't start again until I think the 1st of February, and our minor league team was having some problems and they were a little lean at center ice. And Bob Clark comes to me and he says, "Hey, I need you to do me a favor." And I go, "Sure, what's that?" Anything. I didn't think he was going to ask me to go down and play in Hershey. So When he asked me, I said, okay. But I hadn't trained because I knew I wasn't going to play. And here I am, just drive down there on Friday night. You're going to play in the American League. And the other part of it was it made it difficult, but it wasn't. Was I'm an assistant coach with the parent team. Well, what is he down here just to,
snoop around? Yeah.
So I knew that if I was going to do this, I was going to have to get in the mix right away. And
Why did he do it? Why did he do it? Was it because they were short guys, or was that mainly the point?
Yeah, and they were lean at center ice. And so he thought that maybe, I could help out, I suppose. And like I said, it was hard to do physically because I hadn't trained, and it was in the American League you're playing 3 games in 3 nights, and you're bussing 4 and 5 hours, and I knew in order for my teammates to accept me that I was going to have to get right in there with them and sacrifice with them, or they weren't going to, I needed to be respected too, and I needed to do that. So
is that why you had 58 minutes in penalties in 12 games?
Yeah, you starting line brawls.
Starting shit.
Starting
I figured it out, Chris. You know what you do? You start the brawl because then the linesmen are first to you.
Yeah.
And then you're in the penalty box. And you're out of it, man.
And you can watch. Yeah, this is fun. There's my teammate.
Figure that out.
There's my teammate getting tuned up.
I was fortunate over the years. I had some, starting with you and then wherever I played, my survival hinged on some guys that were really protective of me, yourself, and Craig Berube, Dave Brown, Marty McSorley. These were all really, as you know, hard-nosed, honest guys that really protected their teammates, and they were all good to me over my career. That's for sure.
And you won a cup in Edmonton, right?
I did, yes.
And I was reading that they threw you in the conference finals, and that's how you played in that playoff run. Was in not till the finals or conference finals.
Conference finals and the finals, yeah.
What was that like? Just getting thrown in the conference finals. How was that?
Yeah, it was
87, 88, right?
Yeah.
Were you hurt or you just didn't play?
Just didn't play, and
the bastards.
But it was, as you know, the playoffs. It's hard. It's 2 months of every other night. We were pretty fortunate that we won some series quicker than that, but I trained hard and I was fresh at that point, and I had lots of energy, so it worked out well.
Yeah, that year was kind of a surprise, kind of like 86. A lot of people didn't think we were going to win it. They thought it was Edmonton, but Edmonton lost that year, right? Yeah. I don't think people expected that team to win that year, and they did, right? Wasn't that the deal in Edmonton that year, Keith?
Yeah, I mean, there was like it's the league is very, very competitive, as you know, and there was the Oilers probably felt that the Stanley Cup was against Calgary. If they could beat Calgary, then they could start thinking Cup, you know?
Yeah.
And there's no easy teams or there's no, but that was probably, they felt was maybe going to be the stiffest competition to get by them. And I mean, it was a great run for us. I think you got to win 16 games to win the Cup. I think it was only 18 games we played.
Right.
And maybe
that is a great run.
18 and a half because it was the one night in Boston when the lights went out.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
We didn't finish the game.
Yeah. Peter Klima finished it, though, didn't he?
No, that was 90.
Oh, that was 90. Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay. So, I without haven't saying it for you, but I'm gonna. Is that your greatest thrill in hockey?
Stanley Cup?
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, without a doubt, right? Same with me.
Without a doubt.
I was going to say, going back to my original question, like if you don't win that cup, do you think, looking back on, Chris's year winning it, it would be hurting today? I mean, thank God you won a cup, right?
Well, fortunate and grateful for sure. I think my first year in Montreal, we had a great season, and I think we felt like we were capable of winning a Stanley Cup. And Chris, you and I kind of came at the end of that time when they won 4 in a row, and they emptied the tank, and so then it was still close, but didn't get it done. And then 10 years later to be in Edmonton and playing with those guys and great players, and very fortunate and grateful to have been a part of that team. But that's my biggest thrill is winning the Stanley Cup. That's what all the backyard rink games you talk about, road hockey, whatever, always playing for the Stanley Cup. And like Chris, you said earlier,
some guys that don't win it, right? You look at them, great players that never won it, like a Marcel Dion. Look at Lanny McDonald.
Yeah,
he did it. Yeah. And what a way to go out in the last game you ever play. He scores a goal, right?
Yeah.
Ray Bork.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
Bork,
Bubba Ray.
Yeah,
it's incredible. So
and you can't help but think about in order to be on a team that wins, there's always got to be motivation beyond the obvious. We all say, we want to win a Stanley Cup, but it's got to have an importance to you that goes beyond the boundaries of your opponents. And then when it does happen, you can't help but think about the sacrifice that your teammates made through that time in order to win. And so you could have that, you could have that moment personally. You look at, like I said, your teammates and all the sacrifice that they did and went through to make it happen.
So did either of you ever come close to winning it again? Chris, you might have mentioned before. No.
I was in the semifinals a few times, but call that close.
Yeah, that is close. I mean, I remember we went the conference final in 83, 84 against the Islanders, right?
Yeah.
And we got up 2-0 on them. They come back and slapped us around 4 straight. And I was like, I remember, and I always tell this story. I came back from New York after we lost out, and we're going through the airport, me and Rick Green. And there's tons of people at the airport. And Greeny says to me, can you imagine if we won the cup there? Look at these people here. We fucking went the conference final. They're coming to see us. Yeah. Like, can you imagine if we win it? And we did, like 2 years later. It was like crazy. We're like, and then it was like bizarre what happened at that airport coming back from Calgary. But so Keith, I was an assistant coach for 1 year in the NHL. You had quite the coaching career also. And listen, I'm not assistant coaching material. I'm just not, I have a very hard time changing diapers and warming bottles up. Okay. But I know I could have made a very good head coach if I stuck it out and I didn't exit the coaching game when I did. And I went down the East Coast League as a head coach. I got coach of the year my first year. I worked my butt off. I loved it. I loved being a head coach.
Yeah.
I had a hard time in the assistant coach thing, and I'm not afraid to say that. I just wasn't cut out for it. You certainly had a great career as an assistant coach, and you certainly have the personality, the demeanor. You're upfront, you're personal with people, you're a good communicator. Did you ever think like, geez, maybe I want to go the head coaching route one day, or did you just say, listen, I'm an assistant coach, that's all I want to do?
I think that there was times when I had aspirations to maybe, and when I look back, there was some opportunities, but I really enjoyed being an assistant in the NHL. I look back when I was with the Maple Leafs. Pat Quinn hired me in 2000, and Pat was
what a great man, huh?
Great man, as fine a man as you would ever. you would
No
meet
bullshit. No bullshit. There it is.
meet not only in life, in hockey, but in life, who's the greatest. And he hired me in 2000, and it was like 2004, I think. Our minor league team with the Marlies had a vacancy, and I was asked if I would consider going and coaching the Marlies, but I couldn't, because I couldn't leave Pat away, because he was, so good to me, and that was one opportunity that maybe if I wanted to be a head coach,
you could have maybe
could have went and done that, but certainly I've been around a lot of great players and other coaches, and the game has changed a lot. Like when you and I came in the league, if the coach asked you what 2 + 2 was, you didn't say 4. You just said whatever you want it to be, coach.
Yeah.
and the times have changed, and now you have to adjust and adapt to the times. And now as an assistant coach, you have to sell it. The players, they want to know, why are we doing it this way? And
because I fucking told you to. Just fucking do it.
They're asking you what 2 + 2 is.
Yeah. So it's
just
changed.
fucking do it.
It's changed a lot, right? So, and now the game has changed even more. Some things in the game haven't changed, like Claude Ruel used to say, the game no change, the game no change.
And just a player do. Just a player.
Some things haven't changed, but a lot of things have. And now there's, so much video. Like assistant coaches now, they're spending 10, 12 hours at the
crazy.
It's crazy. And
yeah, it's too much. Don't you think it's overdone in a lot of ways? Like
it's sitting in front of a computer all day long. I remember Pat Quinn said, if I got to be here at 7 a.m. and I got to stay here till 6 p.m. as a coach in the NHL, I clearly don't know what I'm doing, is what he'd say. And but now there's analytics in the game, and it's so.
What do you think of the analytics, by the way, in today's game?
Well, I've been out of it now since 2015-16, and analytics was just kind of coming in. And they're all trying to sell their ability to help you win with analytics. I wasn't a fan of it. And I'll tell you why. I mean, it maybe has its place with your management team with regards to over an extended period of time with a player. Maybe you can factor in the analytics, but not on a night-to-night basis. I didn't need some guy coming down into the coach's office that never had a pair of skates on in his life and telling me that this guy should be taking this face off on the strong side. I mean, come on. And the other part of it is the analytics is now a coach probably feels pressure that he's got to go with the analytics, because if he doesn't and he doesn't win, now he's going to be.
See, I told you, go with the analytics.
But the other part of it is, and you know this, you both know this as well. There's the human side of evaluation during a game, and that's what separates some coaches from others. And we've all had coaches, or I've had coaches that nothing bothered me more than if I know I have it tonight and my coach can't figure it out.
Yeah. And
the other side of that is even worse is if I don't have it tonight and can't figure it out. Right. And that's probably one of the strongest attributes of Glenn Sather as a coach, was he knew 10 minutes into the game who had it tonight and who didn't have it. And that factored in to wins. And you don't get that with analytics. Yeah. That's gone with analytics, in my opinion.
Yeah. You like the iPads on the bench? No, Chris hates them. Chris can't sleep if you.
I'm not a tech guy. I got to tell you that. You know how long it took me to set up this cam for this.
That's
podcast.
right. Wait. This is we were scheduled for last week to tape this podcast, but
Yeah, when you said this is your first podcast, we got it. We understood that.
And you know I've never used a cam on my computer before.
You know, it's funny when you look at the game today and the game don't change. It has. Like, I think they've tinkered with it a little too much. You know, the iPad thing, listen, finish your shift. You know you're fucked up out there. If you need some coaching, go in between periods and ask the coach, let me look at that play. We go over it? Because I think I did this and that. But when guys are there looking on the bench, I fucking hate that. I just think it, you know, and I think, honestly, let's face it. We all like to see ourselves coming in deep and make a move. You see a, right? Don't tell me. You're seeing yourself on tape. You know, you go down, you score a nice goal. It's nice to see on tape. We all have those egos, right? Oh, yeah. And I think some guys, they just want to see themselves again. Like fuck you. Wait till after the game you want to see yourself. You know, shit, we had to see ourselves back in the day, we had to wait the next fucking day, you know, right?
Yeah.
But, yeah, there's some funny shit. When you look at the game today, you know, and we talk about this, I like to ask guys about this, the red line. And, you know, they talk about concussions and headshots. And, you know, I saw last week Trent Frederick took a two-hander off the head from defenseman in New York, Trouba. Okay, yeah. He two-handed him across the head. Got a $5,000 fine. And then the other night in Philly, he cross-checked Brendan Smith, jersey, got him between the elbow pad and the shoulder pad, and it hurt. He come down and chopped him in the arm. He got a 2-game suspension. He chopped the kid in the arm. The other guy swung a stick and swung it and two-handed him off the head. I don't get that. One, when you talk about, you know, they're worried about headshots and the health of the players and everything, and it's such a fast game.
Yeah.
And I look at it nights without the red line there, where guys go up, they step out, make the long pass, chip it. And if these guys are so fucking good with the puck, and they are, I'd like to see them be able to pass their way up the ice. Come up together as a team. Come up the ice together. And you don't see that as much anymore. No. And I know the league is scared of the trap, and teams still trap today. I mean, it'll be a little bit more dramatic if the red line's back in. It's easier to do, but teams still do it today. Do you think that would benefit the game anyway?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that the game is not, for me, isn't as entertaining because coaching has taken all the risk out of the game. D to D, fire it up, chip it in. So now the game has turned into whoever can forecheck the best and whoever can get the puck out of their own end on the first attempt has probably got a real good chance of winning the game. And like you said, now to build an attack where it's 5 going through 5, you don't see that attempt anymore. And when you had to build an attack, that's when the puck would turn over and the game would open up and there would be more chances and more entertainment. But now it's gone to take all the risk out. We're going to have no risk in our game. And then so you better be a good forechecking team because all I'm going to do is orchestrate it to get it behind their defense and no turnover. And then I'm going to go forecheck. And if you're a team that can't break forechecks, you're going to spend the night in your own end. Yeah. And if you're a team that can forecheck, then you're going to have a lot of offensive zone time.
Yeah, and it's like now those D know what's coming. Yeah. So it does take a lot of opportunities to forecheck away because they can cheat off the line. so easily.
Yeah.
And if you're coming up the ice now, you got that 2-line pass for sure. You got D more holding their line, and you have an opportunity to go in now and get there when the D's getting there with the puck instead of being able to cheat off the line like they do now. It's so easy. I don't know. But I'd like to see that one day, the fighting in the game. What do you like about today's game? What do you really dislike about it?
I like watching 3-on-3 overtime.
Because you'd be out there, you bastard. Right? Fucking flying around.
Yeah, when I first was finished with coaching, I had a hard time to watch hockey because I was always watching it as a coach. And so
analyzing.
I'm watching. What's their forecheck? What's their up ice pressure on the penalty kill? What's their power play breakout? What's and I couldn't enjoy it because I was just analyzing, and it's like I had to take notes. And in time, I've got so I enjoy watching it. And I'm like any other fan. I want to be entertained. I want to see, the game open up a little bit. I want to be entertained with the skill. I want to see a good body check. I want to see, and again, if two are going to end up fighting for a reason, not for staged or no reason. Yeah. But for a reason that happens, then these are things that are fans like, right?
Yeah.
Would you have liked today's game to play in it? You think you would play in today's game? No.
No, I couldn't have played in today's game. And
why do you say that?
Yeah, why do you say that?
Because it's there's. Now it's you as an offensive player, say you have the freedom to try to beat somebody one-on-one down below the tops of the circles in the other end. You don't have the freedom to do that. And the game back when I played, it was more end to end. Now it's like I said, there's no risk in the game. It's so structured. It's you either play in your own end or you play in their end below the tops of the circles, and the game doesn't open up. It's not. If you go to Europe right now and watch some games, my son was playing in Germany. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I was going to ask you about Wilt.
Yeah, it was because coaching hasn't taken all the risk out of the game, and there's turnovers, and the game opens up and it goes end to end, and for the players, it's fun to play, and. The NHL now is very, very structured. It's very programmed now.
Well, just like we talk about the coaches, I mean, there's fucking 10 guys behind the bench now. There's almost a guy for every guy. Yeah. There's a guy for every 2 guys. Christ. Need your diaper change? No. It just, it gets a little much. I don't know.
8 of them never played hockey. 8 out of the 10 coaches. Yeah, it's crazy.
So you're now in the business world. You ran for mayor at Stouffville, didn't you, back in 2018?
I'm a counselor in town now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you run for mayor at one point, or?
The term before I did, and then this last time I ran as to be a counselor. So I'm a counselor in one of the wards in town here.
Well, that's cool. Whitechurch, Stouffville, Ontario. How far is that from Peterborough?
It's about an hour.
Yeah, not bad. I was up there recently, up that way.
Yeah.
Playing with the alumni.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. So, the Boston Pizza, how's that going? And getting up every day, going in there and working it. Do you like the business life? I mean, it's not hockey, but.
Yeah, how much pizza you eat a week?
You know what? It's a hard business. You know what? We talk about winning a Stanley Cup is really competitive with 32 teams, but this is even more competitive. There's a pizza place on every corner, right?
Yeah.
Hospitality business is very, very competitive. And being a business owner, it's business and sports has lots of parallels that you can draw between them. You're trying to put a team together. We probably have 40 to 45 employees. A sprinkle of them, it's their career. But you're trying to get a group of people to work together to accomplish a common goal. And you're trying to corner the marketplace, be the trendsetter, and win. And so how do you do that? I mean, it's, again, with, commitment, dedication. You got to have proper teaching. It doesn't take maybe a lot of natural talent, but you got to have people that can teach and motivate and discipline, I suppose, if need be, on certain occasions. And it's like sports. It's a lot of fun when you're winning, and it really sucks when you're losing. Yeah. So it's and as a business owner now, you've got your own skin in the game. It's there's lots more to it, right?
Yeah. So the coaching, that translated really well to do what you're doing today.
Yeah, it's helped. I mean, again, like I said, our team here is, you have each one of them you have to handle in a different way. Like, you have a 65-year-old guy that works in your kitchen that's been doing it his whole life, doesn't need a lot of teaching, I suppose. He knows the job. He knows what he needs to do. But then when you have a 15-year-old girl that it's her first job as a hostess, that's going to take lots more of your time to, train, teach, and, you have to be patient. That was one of the things that I had the hardest time as an assistant coach, was having the patience with, certain individuals that you knew had lots of talent that, and you knew that at one point it's going to come out. And I can give you examples of that. And like when I was with the Maple Leafs, Nazem Kadri drafted to us with the Maple Leafs, and, and hey, he's carved out a great career. He was instrumental in Colorado winning the Stanley Cup. He's become a real good hockey player, but in the beginning, I mean, he had to take an allergy pill if he walked by the gym. So, and that patience, right, is another one was he didn't maximize his potential. I remember when I was with the Maple Leafs, it was Kyle Wellwood, real talented small player that had a great mind for the game. And I remember I don't know where he lived in London or he lived in Windsor in the summer, and we were trying to get him to come to Toronto and spend the summer training with our training people and be here the whole summer. And so they got me to have a conversation with him to try to get him to come. And he said, well, I'm sitting with him, and he goes, no, I can train where I live. I'll be fine. And so then I said to him, management wanted me to try to get him to say, well, we come Monday to Friday, and you can go home on the weekends to Windsor, wherever it is. And so I asked him if you might do this, and he said, no. He said, that doesn't work for me. And I said, well, why not? He said, well, I'd have to manage 2 refrigerators then, and I can't do that. So
that's Welly, though. I played with Welly in Winnipeg. He's like a wizard on the ice. But
lots of talent. Yeah. You're a great kid.
But everyone knew that about him.
So my point is, you got to be patient, and same thing in the Boston Pizza business with youth. You have to be patient with them to wait until they mature a bit and understand it better and are ready to make the commitment.
Well, I remember Rick Green. Him and Gary Green went into business together right back when we were playing it. And who was the guy who used to come around, NHL guy, before the season and give us a little talk about watch out for people with cocaine and the Irish, Frank Torpy.
Frank Torpy, yeah.
So Frank Torpy used to come in the room and go, "Man, watch out, you know, you go in the bars, people want to give you cocaine. Some people go around you for money. You got to be careful, you know, league security." And he said, then he came one year, he said, you know, when players leave the game, half end up getting divorced, which is true. So he's telling you all these stats and everything. And he said, and the restaurant business, you know, 1 out of 2, I don't know, 3 out of every 5 fail or whatever. So he's telling a story, and Rick Green is just going to go on this endeavor in the offseason where he's going to start a restaurant back in the Lakes region up there in Ontario. Him and Gary Green, former coach in the NHL. And Greeny's there. I remember him saying, "Yeah, I can't wait." Because we'd be out in the bar in Montreal or disco or something, and he'd be there. "Yeah, I'm going to be spinning records all summer. You know, the girls, I'm going to be dancing. We're going to be having fun." And he came back to training camp. He said, "You fuck." I said, "How'd it go?" "Oh, fuck, Knox. The fucking biggest mistake of my life, ever getting into that." He said, "You know, the fucking people didn't want to show up to work. I had to do the schedule. Then people leave early, go back to school. You know, what a mess. The biggest mistake of my life." And I remember how happy he was when he was going into this endeavor, and positive, which you want to be. But boy, he got a rude awakening, right? It's not a easy fucking route whatsoever, you know.
No, it's a hard business. It's a lot of competition, and you're relying on people that, like you say, that are dedicated and committed to their profession. I find that if I have somebody that has a primary job and they want this as a secondary job to help subsidize their livelihood, I find them to be, you know, they're probably good to hire because they probably have a strong commitment and dedication that they have a primary job and they still have it. And so they're probably going to have the same habits if they come and work part-time for us. So, but it's a hard business.
So your son, Will, playing, how old's Will now?
Will is 36. He's not playing anymore.
He retired. He played a couple years in Edmonton, right? Got a couple spots of a couple seasons there.
Yeah.
And then he went over to Germany. Yeah. Was it?
Yeah.
How do you like it over there?
He loved it. He was there for about 5 years. And, you know, it's much better when you get to his age, it's a lot better to go play in Europe than to be playing in the American League. You make more money. It's not as taxing on you, your body and stuff. It's a different game, as Timmy, you would know.
Yeah, Germany's awesome because you're allowed, you got so many imports. There's not like a 2 import rules. So, but
he's retired now, and now he's a pro scout with the Penguins.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, it was Ron Hextall hired him because. When I played in Philly, I played with Hexie, and Hexie's son Brett and Willie were the same age, just little kids.
Okay.
And so Hexie knew him from the time he was a little boy. So he's got his start there, and he likes it and enjoys it. And
is he living back home now, back in Stouffville?
Yeah, he lives in Stouffville here, and has the Atlantic Division. So he's in close proximity to most of those teams.
Where was he in Germany? Was he in any of the big cities?
He was in Schwenningen and Nuremberg. And
that's a nice city, yeah.
And he was in one other town that I can't remember which one it was now.
Well,
you ever go out to Oktoberfest out there? Nuts.
I was over a few times, but I missed that.
Nothing like Russian gas, Tim.
Oh, they're both good. I'll take either.
Now, Chris, I see you have a shirt that says what? Brawl in the Hall?
The Brawl in the Hall.
Yeah, I remember
Knuckles versus the Rat.
I remember you brawling in the hall one night in Hershey.
Oh, another hallway fight, huh? I gotta hear this one.
Well, we just spoke about that last week with Archie Henderson.
Oh, is the same one? Is this the same
with Gary Risling.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Tim, it was crazy. Like, I don't know what they thought. It was a good idea to put our locker room just before their locker room and then put me in the room before they put that animal in the room, right? Gary Risling. Hey, supposedly an awesome guy. Never really met him off the ice. Archie loves him.
Yeah.
Archie, well, what a sweetheart he is.
Yeah.
Archie Henderson.
Oh man.
Like, I remember coming in the league and looking at this guy. Look at the size of him, right? He was just an anomaly back in the day. Like, he is 6'6", 6'7" on skates. Like, hello. And he'd come on here. We talked to him last week. He was just a sweetheart of a guy.
Yeah.
Loved the game. Been around the game a long time. But Woody, if I asked you, and again, you had an awesome career, 1,000 games, Stanley Cup, had a wonderful career, and you played the game, with heart, determination, grit. You say, you're small, but you made up for that with your being able to be tough enough to deal with what you had to deal with back in that day. And yeah, you had help. I get all that, but still, when it comes down to, in the end, all you got is yourself, and you certainly made it happen. Your eulogy, what would the first line of your eulogy be? Come on, fucker. Before I come over there, like Frank Babe, put your cheek down the ice.
I have no idea, Chris.
What do you mean?
That's it right there. I have no idea.
You have no idea. I have no idea, but I'll find out.
Yeah.
What would the first line? If you had to write your own eulogy, what would the first line be? Come on, be nice to yourself. Anyway.
I don't know. I think probably my father always taught me to be honest and a hard worker.
There you go. That's all.
That's
honest, hard-working man, right?
That's he ingrained that in my brother and I watched him. He lived it, and it was to follow his example.
Yeah, well, I can attest to that. You were hardworking and you're an honest guy. I know that. So
and you passed
good.
it on to your son, because that's, I mean, for him to make it, like we always talk about Nux, it's a lot of hard work to get there. So it's awesome.
Remember all them hotel rooms and those parties we used to have? Remember?
I don't remember, Chris.
No, Keith, awesome. Hey, listen.
But it's, you know what? It's pleasure being on with you guys. And, we have friendships and teammates and people in hockey, a lot of great people. And we're all, very appreciative and grateful that we've had these times with one another and great memories.
No question.
Yeah.
No question. I look at that, one of my great teammates right here, and a lot of good memories. And every time, I love it when I see guys. I saw you, when we were up in Ontario with the thing, and it's like I saw you yesterday. It's like, oh, we're back at, you step right into it again, like that, and that's awesome. I saw Brian Screwlin on the weekend.
Yeah.
I see Screwy. It's like we step right back into it. One of my all-time favorite teammates. Yeah. And it's just like you have these relationships over the years, and then you go your separate ways. But when you come back together, it's like you never left. So awesome.
So true.
For taking the time, Keith. I appreciate it. Always great teammate, great competitor, and great person.
Coach
so,
too.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Assistant coach.
Yeah. Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the Raw Knuckles podcast. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe.